Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's Pick a Pile reading is all about someone who regrets losing you and why. There are 3 piles for you to choose from. From left to right we have piles 1, 2, and then 3. Once you have picked your pile, head to the timestamp for it in the description below. Hello pile 1, welcome to your reading. Let's jump right into it. The message starts off with the fertility card, and this isn't just about potential in the romantic sense. This card reflects an emotional landscape that was full of possibility. You were the beginning of something. Maybe they didn't see it clearly at the time, but looking back, they understand that you represented growth, expansion, and depth. You weren't someone passing through, you were someone who planted an emotional seed in them. Something real was starting to form. They may not have known what to do with that energy. Fertility is powerful. It requires nurturing, consistency, and a willingness to invest. And that's where things broke down. You were offering an open door to something real, but they either pulled away, shut down, or froze in place. At the time, they may have rationalized it, this is too fast, I'm not ready, maybe this isn't the right time, but none of those thoughts were rooted in truth. The truth is, they felt it, and it scared them. What they regret now is not just the loss of a relationship, it's the loss of what that connection could have become. It's the version of life they almost stepped into with you. They may not even be able to fully articulate what was so powerful about your presence. They just know something shifted internally when you were around. You opened a door with them, and now the door feels closed. Even now, they carry pieces of that energy. The memory of what your presence did to their emotional world lingers. If you created space for them to be seen, accepted, or even challenged to be better, that energy didn't vanish when the connection ended. It's still echoing in their choices, their thoughts, and their daydreams. They might have tried to distract themselves or move forward quickly, but the space you left behind isn't something that can be filled casually. And what makes this regret deeper is the sense that they let something fertile, something genuinely promising, go dry from neglect. This card speaks to the part of the connection they didn't speak about, the part they felt but ignored. The High Priestess reversed reveals that their intuition was alert the entire time. They knew, on some deeper level, that you were important, that this connection meant something, but instead of leaning into that awareness, they suppressed it. They may have avoided eye contact in moments that felt too real, deflected conversations that brought up feelings, or kept things surface level to maintain control. But the real reason for that control is they didn't trust their own emotional instincts. And the more clearly you reflected the truth back to them, the more disoriented they became. They couldn't handle how seen they felt. Looking back, they realized that they ignored what mattered, that there were emotional cues, silences, glances, and soft truths you shared that they pushed aside. Not because they didn't care, but because they weren't ready to face the version of themselves they saw in your eyes. You mirrored their depth, and they weren't ready for it. Now, that regret shows up in the form of spiritual discomfort. They think about the things they didn't say, the things they said too late. The feelings they buried and hoped would go away, but the connection is still tethered to them on a deeper level, and that spiritual tug has only gotten louder. They lost not just the connection, but a mirror, and when you lose a mirror, you stop seeing yourself clearly. That's what they regret most, not trusting the one person who actually saw them. This card brings in softness, a raw emotional energy that was present but never fully expressed. The Page of Cups shows that they wanted to offer something more. Even if they didn't say it, even if it never came through clearly, their feelings were real, not grandiose, not overpowering, but sincere and gently blooming. There were moments, small, meaningful ones, where they could have told you how they felt, where they could have sent that message, opened up just a little more, or responded to your vulnerability instead of retreating. They didn't, and now those moments replay in their mind like missed beats in a song. I should have said something, I could have let them know, and why didn't I respond the way I wanted to, lingers in their mind. They regret not protecting the emotional softness that was forming. You might have shown them safety and vulnerability, and in return, they stayed closed off. That contrast haunts them, because now they understand that what was developing between you was rare. It didn't demand attention, it just deserved it. They may still have feelings they never voiced, or apologies they never shared, but the bigger regret isn't in the unsaid, it's in the fact that they were given a gentle space to express themselves, and they chose silence. This wasn't about a lack of feeling, it was the lack of courage to honor those feelings when they still had the chance. Your energy in this reading is powerful. The Queen of Wands is a card of self-possession, inner fire, and unapologetic magnetism. Whether or not you saw yourself that way, this is how they saw you. As someone who moved with confidence, authenticity, and a deep sense of inner worth, even if quietly. They may have been drawn to your strength, even when feeling threatened by it, not because you were overbearing, but because you didn't need them to feel whole. And that kind of presence can shake someone who's still unsure of their own value. You had your own light, and they regret not knowing how to stand beside it without shrinking. What's clear is that your self-assuredness highlighted their instability. You were a mirror of maturity, clarity, and truth, and that's hard to stand in front of when you're used to hiding. They didn't lose someone who made them feel weak, they lost someone who asked them to step up. Now they look back and realize they weren't ready to match you, and the regret there is double-layered. They miss you, and they're disappointed in themselves. They wonder if they could have grown into the kind of person who deserved your energy, and that wondering still sits with them. This card brings frustration. There was a spark here, undeniable, mutual, and alive. The Ace of Wands reversed tells us that the passion between you was there, but it never got off on the ground in a sustainable way. It may have been short-lived, sporadic, or fumbled in its early stages. The start didn't stick. They regret that deeply, because what they felt in your presence wasn't just chemistry, it was momentum. Something was moving, changing, or waking up, but they either hesitated, disappeared, or told themselves it wasn't the right time, and now that opportunity feels lost. What's especially painful here is the awareness that it could have been something incredible. The Ace of Wands reversed doesn't reflect a weak connection, it reflects a strong one that was either mishandled, misread, or underestimated. They think about how close they came to something transformative, and now they live with the tension of knowing the flame never got to fully burn, that the connection never had its moment to become what it was meant to be, and that kind of missed potential is something they can't seem to forget. This is where it all lands. In their mind, late at night, when there's no one left to distract them from what they lost, the Nine of Swords is heavy. It's the card of mental looping, anxiety, and emotional regret that won't let up. They think about what happened, what didn't happen, what they could have done, and what they didn't say. They're not just regretful, they're haunted. Whether they're in another relationship now or navigating life solo, the thought of you lingers in the spaces between their daily routine. You're the one who got away, not because you left dramatically, but because they let something go that actually mattered. This isn't just sadness, it's self-blame. They know they could have done better, that they had the opportunity to be honest, present, and connected, and they didn't like it. And now that clarity weighs on them. They may not say it out loud, but that regret, it's sharp and it's real. You didn't just walk away from a situation, you walked away from their awakening. And while they might never tell you that directly, they carry it with them every single day. So that's what I'm getting for pile 1. If this resonated for you, please let me know in the comments, and of course, like and subscribe. See you next time. Hello pile 2, welcome to your reading. Let's jump right into it. We open with the Triumphant Success card, and already there's a sense that clarity has hit this person like a lightning bolt. Not necessarily the kind they were hoping for, but the kind that can't be ignored. Something has clicked for them. This isn't just about missing you. It's about realizing the truth of what you meant to them, and that truth has come into focus only after losing you. You might have spoken with honesty, shown them your heart, or maintained integrity in ways they couldn't match at the time. But now, in hindsight, that strength stands out. They're seeing things clearly, no more illusions, no more hiding behind confusion or emotional excuses. They know what they lost, and they know it wasn't just any connection, it was a meaningful one. And that truth is cutting sharper now than it ever did while you were around. There's something incredibly sobering about this energy. It's not emotional chaos, it's mental clarity. And that's what's making the regret even more real. This wasn't a misunderstanding. They made a choice, or avoided making one, and now they fully grasped the weight of it. This is the kind of realization that doesn't just pass, it reshapes how they think about connection altogether. There was a resistance here. A refusal to commit, to step into something serious, or to align with deeper values you brought to the table. The Hierophant reverse shows that while you may have been seeking something grounded, loyal, or purposeful, they were either unsure of what they believed or unwilling to structure their life around real relationship. Looking back, they recognized that their hesitation wasn't about you. It was about their discomfort with responsibility, with depth, and with stepping outside their comfort zone. They may have clung to independence, avoided labeling the connection, or staying non-committal even when the bond was obvious, and now they regret how much they took your patience for granted. You might have asked for more than they were willing to give, but now they see how little they offered in return. Their version of freedom cost them the chance to build something meaningful with someone who actually wanted to build with them. The realization here is painful because it forces them to acknowledge that what they dismissed as not ready was actually a fear of showing up fully. Now, that fear has a consequence, and it's your absence. This card reveals how unequal things really were. You may have been giving more, emotionally, energetically, or even through your effort to keep things balanced. The Six of Pentacles highlights a dynamic where one person offers with sincerity while the other holds back, unsure or unwilling to reciprocate. And they see that now. They feel the weight of what they took and what they didn't return. In your presence, they might have grown accustomed to the steady warmth you brought. Maybe they assured you'd always be available. Or maybe they didn't realize how much energy you were investing. Not because you were demanding, but because you made it look easy. That quiet generosity you offered is what they're thinking about now, and that's where the regret hits hard. They know they didn't match your energy. They know they held back. Whether it was out of self-protection, immaturity, or emotional confusion, the result was the same. A one-sided connection that eventually burned out under the weight of imbalance. They're starting to understand that love isn't just a feeling. It's a form of effort, and they didn't show enough of it when it counted. Now, they look back and realize they were being given something rare, and they let it slip through their fingers. This card marks the turning point. Since the connection ended, they've been stuck in reflection, not in the sense of obsessing, but in that suspended, soul-searching space where everything slows down and truth starts to land differently. The Hanged Man shows that they've had time, and now with that time, perspective has come, and it hasn't been comfortable. They're seeing things they didn't want to see before. Maybe how selfish they were, maybe how emotionally guarded they were, but maybe how they projected their fear of being vulnerable onto you. And it's through this suspension that they're gaining clarity on who they were with you versus who they wanted to be. That gap between their actions and their potential is where the regret lives now. They're starting to wish they'd paused sooner, that they'd slowed down long enough to understand how much you were offering them. This isn't just a regret of words or decisions, it's the regret of missed growth. They realize that being with you could have expanded them, softened them, and helped them mature, but they weren't open to it, not then. Now, all they can do is sit with that truth and hope they don't repeat the same mistake again. Here, we see the part of them that always wanted to do things right, just at their own pace and on their own terms. The Knight of Pentacles is steady and loyal, but slow-moving. And in this case, it's a little too slow. They might have told themselves they needed time, that they weren't ready to rush anything, and that they'd eventually get around to committing, but time ran out, and now they're seeing that waiting didn't serve anyone. What's interesting is that they didn't lack intention, they lacked urgency. You might have been patient, but even patience has limits. You gave them space, probably more than most would have, and they confused that space for indefinite time. The regret here is rooted in the realization that just because something feels secure doesn't mean it will last forever without care. They're likely still thinking about how they'd do it differently if they had the chance again. Maybe they'd speak up sooner or be more consistent, or simply show more appreciation along the way. It's not that they didn't see your value, it's that they assumed you'd wait until they were ready. They're now left with the clarity that they were preparing for a future you were ready to build with them in the present, and they missed it. This card lands like emotional whiplash. The Tower shows that the ending, whether sudden or drawn out, changed everything. Whether they walked away or watched you walk out of their life, that moment of separation hit them harder than they expected. And it didn't just break the connection, it cracked open something inside of them that hadn't been touched before. They didn't expect the fallout to be this deep, but now everything they were avoiding has been forced to the surface. The denial, the passivity, the assumptions that they had more time, all of it collapsed the moment you were gone. The Tower is a card of brutal awakening, and that's exactly what they've experienced since losing you. This regret is not quiet. It's messy, intense, and transformational. It's the kind of regret that causes someone to question not just their choices, but their identity. They're not just sorry they lost you, they're trying to rebuild who they are in the wake of that loss. So that's what I'm getting for pile 2. If this resonated for you, please let me know in the comments, and of course, like and subscribe. See you next time. Hello pile 3, welcome to your reading. Let's jump right into it. This reading opens with Love Begins, and already we're touching on something that wasn't casual. You may have shared something new, raw, and emotionally significant with this person, even if it never became official. The beginning of this connection stirred emotions in them that they weren't used to confronting, and instead of flowing with it, they hesitated, stepped back, or let fear distort what was forming. They regret not allowing themselves to fully feel what was opening between you. There was emotional vulnerability here, possibly even mutual, but they didn't know how to receive it. They were touched but scared, moved but emotionally distant. You offered sincerity, and they weren't ready to meet it with the same presence. Now that energy sits like a mist wave they can't return to. They think about those early moments, the tone of your voice, the way you looked at them, the feeling of comfort they didn't expect. Love was beginning, and it wasn't polished or planned, but it was real. And that beginning now feels like a chapter they never fully stepped into. The regret here runs deep. It's not rooted in loss alone, it's rooted in self-awareness. They recognize they didn't open themselves to something that could have grown into something beautiful, and now they're looking back on those moments as the ones they should have taken more seriously. This wasn't just a crush or a fleeting emotion, this was the start of something, and they let it go before they ever explored where it might lead. Their behavior during the connection may have been inconsistent, hot and cold, in and out, emotionally intense one moment and withdrawn the next. The Knight of Wands reversed shows someone who acted impulsively, often driven by short-term emotion rather than long-term intention. And they see that now. They know they were reactive rather than responsive, and that instability left you guessing. This kind of energy can be thrilling at first, but it wears down trust quickly. You may have started to wonder what was real and what was just momentum. They regret not slowing down and grounding their actions in something more stable. It wasn't that they didn't care. It was that they didn't know how to stay present once those feelings intensified. They now understand how damaging that inconsistency was. You needed something dependable, not someone who drifted in and out depending on their mood or fears. They regret making you question where you stood when they, deep down, knew how much they were drawn to you. There's also regret in how their passion became a barrier instead of a bridge. What could have been deepened through conversation, consistency, and mutual effort got lost in bursts of energy that lacked direction. And now they're realizing they burned through something meaningful without ever anchoring it. They're not proud of that behavior, and it's become a blueprint they're now trying to unlearn, though part of them fears it's too late where you're concerned. Here we see regret tied not just to emotion, but to a lost future. The Ten of Pentacles reverse shows that they saw, even briefly, the possibility of something long-term with you. Security, a shared life, emotional and material stability, but instead of investing in that future, they avoided it. And now that vision feels shattered. This card reveals that they may have sabotaged a future they didn't think they deserved, or they convinced themselves that they weren't ready to offer it, even while part of them hoped it could be real. It's the kind of internal tug-of-war that leads to mixed signals, false starts, and emotional confusion. And for all the potential that was there, nothing ever fully took root. They now regret not allowing the foundation to form. They may have told themselves they'd figure things out later, or that time would clarify things. But time passed, and what they had with you disappeared with it. Now they look back and realize that they had the chance to build something meaningful, and instead they let it erode. What hurts them the most is knowing that you were ready to build, or at least willing to build, and they didn't match that energy. You were consistent where they were hesitant, you were focused where they were distracted, and the emotional loss is now paired with the recognition of lost legacy, not just love, but the life that could have been shared around it. Their regret here is shaped by absence, not just of you, but of what you both might have become. Even with all the immaturity and instability in the past, this card shows that they did feel something tender for you. The Page of Cups is soft, vulnerable, and emotionally genuine, and it speaks to the part of them that wishes they could go back and start again. They might have fumbled their words, avoided heart-to-hearts, or kept things on the surface, but deep down they had feelings they didn't know how to express. What they regret now is not the feeling itself, it's their inability to honor it. They may have laughed off something serious, walked away when things got too close, or acted indifferent when your emotional openness asked for reciprocity. And now that missed chance to show vulnerability weighs on them. They think about the moments they could have said something, the times you opened the door emotionally, hoping they'd walk through it, and they stayed silent or looked away. That silence still haunts them, because now they're realizing that love doesn't always need grand gestures. Sometimes it just needs honesty, and they didn't give it. This card shows a lingering emotional thread, a sense that they still carry a piece of what you shared with them, even if they never told you how much it mattered. That part of them, which is small and still developing, is trying to grow now, but without you there to witness it. And that's the root of their regret, that the version of themselves who could have loved you properly is only now beginning to emerge. Now they're coming face to face with consequences. The Justice card brings balance, truth, and accountability. It tells us they're no longer in denial about what went wrong or who was responsible. They may have tried to blame timing, circumstance, or emotional confusion, but they now understand the role they played in the disconnect. This isn't just regret, it's reckoning. They see now that you were fair, consistent, and emotionally sincere, and they weren't. And that imbalance, once dismissed or ignored, has now become a painful memory they can't shake. There's a strong sense here that they believe they got what they deserved when the connection ended, that they lost something precious and it wasn't random. Justice is a powerful teacher, and for them, this card represents the reality that regret isn't always enough to bring something back. They may want to make things right, they might wish they could rewrite what happened, but there's also awareness that you might not want to hear it anymore, and they accept that. What's changed is their willingness to hold the truth, all of it, even when it stings. They know now that you didn't walk away without reason, and that clarity has reshaped the way they see themselves in every connection since. This card closes the reading with a powerful emotional shift. The Wheel of Fortune tells us that their life has changed since you left, sometimes in sudden, unexpected ways, and each shift has brought them back to one thought. The moment they let you go was the moment everything started to turn. They now see the connection as a pivotal moment, a crossroads that sent them on a path they didn't fully understand at the time. And part of the regret comes from realizing that you were meant to be part of their growth. You were a gift, and they let it pass them by. Now they're facing the new circumstances that continue to reflect the lessons they didn't learn with you. And in those quiet moments of reflection, they wonder what might have unfolded if they held on to you, if they'd stepped into the connection fully instead of holding back. There's also a quiet hope in this card. Not that you'll return, but that something meaningful still lies ahead. They may be trying to trust that the universe will give them another chance at love, but they know it won't look like what they had with you. That connection was unique, timed perfectly, and they missed it. And that understanding will follow them, no matter where the wheel turns next. So that's what I'm getting for pile 3. If this resonated for you, please let me know in the comments, and of course, like and subscribe. See you next time.